Hi guys, welcome back to our channel, Joyful Life Retirement Channel. This is Yemi,
And I'm Tox.
and we're here today, back at you. We are here today to talk about our experiences in getting our temporary resident visa for the country of Ecuador.
Yeah.
Ecuador is a small South American country, about the size of Colorado. It's pretty close to the United States for those of you that are looking for countries that are not too far. So you can hop on a plane and be in the United States in a day. Ecuador is definitely worth you looking at. So, when people decide to migrate to a different country, there are lawyers and facilitators that can help ease the journey. They kind of handhold you through the process. As you can imagine, it's not free, and it's not free, and it's not cheap. So as you can imagine, these things run thousands of dollars.
Yep.
And our experience, at least for Ecuador, and we've talked to other people who are in other countries too, other American expats. The problem you have also is making sure that the lawyer or the facilitator that you hired is competent.
Hmm?
We've had so many horror stories, and so we didn't want to take that route, okay? We didn't want to take the route of hiring someone. We're pretty intelligent people. We do not speak the language fluently. Yeah, we say we're pretty intelligent. We think we are.
I practice.
I know you practice, but we decided to do this on our own, to take this journey solo on our own, without any hand holding, without any fees that we have to pay anybody. You can hop on any of the expat groups on Facebook, and other social media sites, Threads, Instagram, and you'll see so many referrals for this lawyer, this facilitator, this. And I know a lot of people are just pretty afraid because they don't speak the language. We're in the same boat. We're not fluent. I mean, some of us better than others, but we're not. We're here to tell you the Ecuadorian government has made this easier. You can do it where?
Yep.
Online.
Online. Yep.
Online.
But we are going to tell you, first of all, about the way we did it. It wasn't online then.
Ugh.
We will tell you what we did. And if you choose not to do it online, maybe it will help. But if you do decide to do it online, it is also possible.
So what did we do? How did we do ours?
When we first visited, we talked to a lot of people and we found as much information as we could get. And then when we went back to the US, we got all our paperwork together. I'm just putting this in a nutshell now. We got all our paperwork together. And on our next visit here, we went to Manta, to the office in Manta, and we presented all our papers and said, these are the papers that we have. Do we need anything else? And they were so nice to us that they told us what else we needed. And on our next visit, we got everything together and we brought them here. Now, keeping in mind that we tried to bring all our paperwork from the US, so it made things a little bit easier for us than if you're already here and you're trying to get the paperwork done, because you have to send some things back to the US for translation and apostillation and things like that. We did not have to do all that. We came prepared.
Because basically we got all of the US based documentation that's needed by the Ecuadorian government. We got them while we were still in the US. That's it, in one nutshell.
Yeah, and we had them apostilled and translated.
So that's actually one of their rules. Any documentation that's not originating from Ecuador that they are able to verify and certify, if you're bringing it from a different country, you have to make sure that you translate and apostille. Okay, that word, I never heard that word before we started this process too, people. I know I mean, if you're out there going, what the heck is apostle?
Apostille. I
Yeah.
was thinking Apostle Paul, but it's Apostille.
So it's apostille, okay? And that's the word right there on the screen for you. So we've never heard of that word before too, but basically how it was explained is to translate and transfer your documents in a way that the Ecuadorian government will accept, if that makes any sense. That's the layman's. I'm not an attorney, people.
It's also a way of notarizing when you're apostille.
Yes, it is. It is also a way of notarizing and certifying that the document is what you say it is. Okay. So we're going to tell you what documents you will need. Before we do that, we have to let you know that the government has a website. If you're choosing to do this online, the first thing you must do, number one, register for an account. Pretty easy. It's free. You don't have to pay a penny.
Yeah.
Okay.
And really, before we talk about the documentation, let us talk very, very briefly about the types of visas there are. There are many types, so we cannot talk about the documentation for each and every one of them.
No.
That will be time consuming. But the most popular ones are the investor visa, the retirees visa, the nomad visa, and the professional visa. Now, all these, like I said, have different documentations that you will need, but there are some documentations that are common to all of them.
Yes, required for all.
Yeah, exactly, and those are the ones we're going to talk about on this video.
Exactly. Those are the ones we're going to talk about. The requirements for documentation that applies to all the categories of visa. Now, depending on the one that you choose to do, you might have one or two more documentation that you'll have to do. For example, if you're doing the professional visa, that's the one that pretty much says, okay, you're a college graduate, you went to college, so you will have to go through the process of verifying your degree from your home country. So that's going to be an additional step that you will need to take.
And there's a body for that. And if you went to a college that is not listed on that body, you'll have to figure out a way to add it.
So that's just a whole different process. For example, another example, if you're doing the investor's visa, which means that you've made an investment in this country, if it's a home that you've bought, you'll need to show them the property deed. That's what we would understand it as from North America.
Mm-hmm.
Just a piece of paper that says, hey, you bought this, you're not going to sell it. We're not going to let you sell it until your temporary status is removed from your resident visa.
Mm-hmm.
So those are just examples of different additional steps that you may have to take. But the documentation that we're going to cover right now applies to anyone. Okay? You're going to need to produce this documentation no matter if you do the retirement visa, if you do the professional visa, the investor's visa, or the professional or the nomad visa, sorry. Okay? So let's start with the stuff that you're going to need first. Okay? We always start with a passport. We're gonna start with the passport first, okay, guys? You are going to need a valid passport from your home country. Make sure that the passport has more than 6 months time still left on it. So again, simple math. Whatever month that you're planning to actually apply, it might take you months to get out the rest of the documents together, but the month that you think you're going to apply, you need to count at least 6 months out. Okay? If your passport isn't going to make it through, I would even do 8 months just to build yourself some time. In case you run into some kind of trouble and you have to you have to submit certain documents. Make sure you have a passport that has the needed time on it before it expires. Pretty simple, okay?
Also, you will always need a color photograph.
Passport.
Passport
photo.
passport photograph. passport photo, sorry.
Not just a color photograph, people.
Passport photograph.
Don't do an
It has
Insta.
to be 2" by 2" or 5 cm by 5 cm. You will need also a copy of your criminal record.
So I'm gonna jump in quickly before you move on to the criminal record. Talking about the passports, because I'm sure if some of you that are out there like I am, of a certain age, you go, how do I get a passport photo? And then I'm gonna do this online. Folks, anywhere you go to get your passport photo, they can email you in JPEG form your actual passport photograph.
Yeah.
So there's no need to actually get the physical one and do a picture of it and then upload again. Technology is going places that we didn't even think it will go to. They'll just email you the passport photo and you can just upload that electronically, so there's no hard copy involved.
But if they don't email it, I mean, some places in the US may not email it to you if you took your pictures in the US. It's very easy to just scan it into your computer and have an electronic copy. So
Yeah,
easy
that's
breezy.
it. Yeah, that's pretty easy. And the cost for the passport photo will depend on where you are. We can tell you in Ecuador in the coastal region, it's about $10 for 4. Okay, it's about $10 for 4. Okay,
But you only need one.
Yeah.
So next, you need to have an FBI background check done.
Not BCI.
Yeah, not the States. FBI. There are companies out there in the US, that is, I can't speak for any other part of the country of the world, that will start that process for you. They will, you will get your fingerprint taken and you send it to them. They will do your FBI background check for you, and then they will notarize it for you because you need to have it notarized.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, you do. So again, just so we are clear and you'll hear us clearly. In the United States, we're going to focus on the United States for a quick minute here. In the United States, you have 2 levels of police checks. Okay. You have what we call a Bureau of Criminal Investigation. That's a BCI. Okay. That usually just checks in state. Whatever state you're in is what it will check, or whatever other states you've lived. Okay. Now, the FBI checks the whole country. That is what the country government of Ecuador requires you to do. They just don't want you to run the police report for your state. You've got to do it for the entire country. Okay? So make sure, do not waste your money going to go do the state one first, because guess what? You're going to have to do the FBI. Okay? And like Toke said, there are some companies that would help you with this process. It's not free, obviously. I know nothing is free. Don't you just hate that?
Especially not in the US.
I mean, nothing. You don't get nothing for free. So you will have to link up with the different companies. We can tell you the one we use. We have to look through our paperwork again. Put a comment in there if you need some information on the one that we used. We're not recommending one over the other,
No.
and that's why we've purposely not said we're going to put a link. Just hop online and say, look for companies that can do FBI and Apostille them. Okay, so that takes a while. In our experience, that seems to be the one document that takes the longest.
Yeah.
So make sure you allow for some time. How long did ours take?
Well, I mean, in fairness, when we did ours, they were kind of backed up. So I don't know if they're still backed up now.
Yeah.
So it may not take as long. But when we did ours,
It took over a month.
FBI was backed up. It took about 6 weeks. Really.
Yeah, it was over a month. It was over a month.
But it just depends. But keep that in mind when you put out when you're gathering your paperwork. But some will take longer than the others.
Yeah.
So make make allowance for that.
Or you may just be lucky and you get yours, and we'll be all talking about you like, how did she get hers in 1 week? So hey,
Yeah.
yeah. And then going on to the next thing, what else do we need?
Yes, Ecuador wants to make sure that you're not here and become a burden on the country. So they will require you to have or to prove that you have lawful means of income. That could be either your retirement papers, your a letter from your company that says you're hired or you're working for them at this much rate or whatever. So you will need whatever paperwork that entails. Plus your bank statement that shows movement of money coming in into your account on a monthly basis at least that will meet the minimum standard for what they want. Now, the minimum standard depends on what visa you're applying for. For professional, it might be a little bit less. For others, it might be a little bit more. So you have to do your homework on that.
So, like you said, governments all over the world, okay, they want to have people visiting, they'd like to have foreigners stay in there, but what they do not want is have foreign people come and increase the burden. Okay, Ecuador is not one of the technologically advanced countries, and we really hate this word and we don't use it. It's a developing country. We're not going to use that other numbered word that people like to use. I don't know who woke up and assigned numbers to different countries. On this channel, we're just going to use developed and developing. Okay, so Ecuador falls in that developing category. So their resources, as they should, they want to make sure it only goes to the native Ecuadorians. So we shouldn't come here as guests of this beautiful country and make their system burdened by taking out of it things we have not put into it. So they want to make sure that anybody that's going to be coming as a resident has the financial means of supporting themselves. They're not asking you to support Ecuadorians. They're not asking you to pay, to start adopting people. They're not asking you to do that. All they just want to make sure is, do you have enough money to not become a burden on us? And that's why they need to make sure it's either you're working, if you're doing the professional visa, you gotta show proof of your employment and proof of your income. If you're doing the nomad visa, the same thing. Where is your income coming from? Okay. The retirees, they want to make sure, are you getting any pension? Can we see proof of that? And if you're coming in as an investor, okay, so you've brought money in here. We're going to make sure that we put some sort of a lien. I use the word lien. That's a North American
It
thing.
is a lien, really.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that if you bought a place, and a lot of people don't realize that you can't just buy a place to show that you have investment in the country. You file for your temporary resident visa, you get it, and then you want to sell the place.
Can't do that.
You cannot do that. So, folks, think before you choose what kind of visa you're going to do. If you know that you can devote at least 26 months, 28 months to owning a place here, then don't pick that kind of visa.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep. I mean, and in the case of CD, for example, it's a minimum of 730 days, which is about 2 years.
And some change.
And some change.
Yeah.
Because they want to make sure that you don't put out that paper that says, I have CD, and then next day you go collect it. In fact, the bank won't give it to you.
Yeah.
Because they will give it to you on the premise that you are going to use it to apply for your temporary visa.
Yeah. Yeah. So really look at it, because I mean, if you're like most people, well, if you like some people, some of us qualify for the different kinds, but only you can do the assessment to figure out, okay, which one will fit what my own unique individual needs are. Okay, so make sure, please do that, and just don't jump in just because you see that that's the fad on the Facebook pages that everybody is doing it. Don't listen to some random Facebook page people, and that's why the information we provide for you here is just for you to use as a jump off. Okay, we still expect that you do your own due diligence to figure out which one will work best for you. Which one we had to do that due diligence, which one worked best for us. No lawyer can tell you that, no facilitator can tell you that. You have to look at what your unique needs are. Do you have the money to tie down? To tie down, or could you go the professional visa route where you don't have to tie down any money? So please keep that in mind.
And talking about not being you know, not relying on the government to take care of you, they will also prefer that you have some kind of insurance that's medical insurance,
Is what
so
he's
that
talking
if
about.
you get sick, you're not relying on
The public health care system.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because a lot of people use it as it is, and sometimes it's a little bit backed up, so you don't want to contribute to that. So it helps if you have that.
Your own private insurance. As a matter of fact, I know when we did ours, showing proof of medical insurance was something we had to turn in. Okay, so again, it's not that they're trying to make your life difficult. It's not that. I mean, you can choose whether you want health insurance or not. That's a personal choice. But if you're choosing to become a resident legally in this country and you're filing for your temporary resident visa, you will need to show that you have medical insurance through that process. Okay, so you will need to show that. And there are companies here that sell the insurance for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So having said that, if you are looking to apply, you will have to go to the Ministry of External Affairs, and they do have a lot of visa type that you can apply for there, and it also tells you what is required and what is needed. So once you get everything that you need, you wouldn't have to, go online, like she said earlier, register online, and then put in your paperwork, pay your filing fee of $50, and wait.
And they'll email you the email that you registered your account with. Okay. That will be your go-to place. So one of the other wonderful things that the system is trying to do, once you apply, they actually create a file, a case file. They will email you that case file, and you can actually follow the movement of this process. People, I was so impressed to see that. You'll see how your case, your application, we don't want to call it case. They call it case. It's not like you cut a case out here, but those who know the joke. But anywho, they'll create a number for you. They call it case file number. I think they literally use the word
It's
case.
a procedure number.
Procedure number. And then you can follow how your application is moving on towards this process. It's wonderful. So you can log on to that site as many times as you need to,
Yes.
just to kind of see what's going on. And the other thing that they do, they actually put a ticker time, like a time counter. They note the date.
Yeah.
They note the date that they received it, and they'll as they show how it's going on through the process, they'll put 10 days, 20 days in. Yeah, which is wonderful.
And one other thing you need to be mindful of if you do this online is if for whatever reason they don't receive or they don't like one of the documents that you send, they will send you an email and give you 10 days to correct it.
Yes.
Now, you only get the one chance to correct it.
Yeah, we learned that.
We learned it the hard way. You
Yes.
get one chance to correct it. If you don't correct it within that 10 days, then you have to start all over again.
Friggin', and pay that $50.
Again.
People, pay that $50 again. So please make sure that you check whatever email address that you decide to use, that you're checking it constantly and often. And make sure also to make time to log onto the system so you can see how your application is going. It's pretty exciting, right? Well, do we have anything else we want to share with the good people out there?
Well, after you get your visa, you have to apply for a cedula. your visa will always come with a cedular order.
So let's
And
explain what a cedula is
okay,
before we go on. So I know that word showing right there on the screen, cedula, cedula, okay? That word is what they call their national
ID card.
ID card, if you will, okay? The national ID card, you know, in North America, specifically United States, we've got the state ID, and then we've got our driver's license, people who drive. So in the States, if you drive, you don't need the ID. In this country, even if you drive, you still need the cedula.
Need a ced.
Okay, everybody needs a cedula. So once they approve your visa,
you pay for your visa along with your cedular order at the same time, and then you're good to go. Now you have to go get your cedular from a different
department.
body. Yes,
Yeah, different department. Let's talk about the cedula a little bit more. I know he got excited about talking about cedula, but the cedula, like we said, is a national ID. So once you get the orden, that's the Spanish word for order. Okay.
Yeah,
Orden,
she's speaking Spanish.
yes, I am. Hey, the Orden de la Cedula.
Okay.
Is that what they call it? I think that's what they call it. Orden de la Cedula. Those of you who know the language, put down there. Am I saying this correctly? But anywho, so once you get that order, folks, that order is only good for how many days?
30.
30 days. So do not dilly-dally around. Do not wait to go get your cedula, because if you let that order expires, guess what?
Then just order it again. Pay another $10.
You gotta go through all that again and do that. And it's, listen.
I mean, just through the order, not for the
not for the whole visa.
Yeah,
just for the order of cedula, which means you're going to have to go back online and do all that good stuff again. Now, our experience from 2.5, 3 years ago is different from what the cedula process is now. Back then, they will also need proof of your medical insurance. Remember, we talked about that briefly? Mm-hmm. But right now...
And your blood type.
And your blood type, yes. Okay, we will do another video, like he said. And you guys will actually put the link, we'll go back and retroactively put the link on this one so you can see, because you will need to do 2 extra things to get your cedula, okay? If you have questions, go on ahead and put it down there in our comment section. We thank you for joining us again. Walk this journey with us as you get your stuff together into retirement or half retirement or nomad life or
no retirement.
Or no retirement, you're just moving somewhere else. I know. Some of us love to work. We can't help it.
I want to.
But anywho, thank you so much for joining us. Have a good rest of your day. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.